My name is December James. I'm the voice of the saint and sinner. I speak for followers of Christ who fall short, still show up, and still choose Him. Not because we're perfect, but because He is. And this is my testimony. Coming out of that season where my sexual immorality was like at an all-time high, I met this woman through a friend of mine, close friend of mine. And I had been interested in this woman for quite some time, but things just had never aligned in that way. And I've never been one to force situations, but this woman would wind up being the mother of my firstborn child. We met in a season where, honestly, I should have been taking time to myself and soul searching. But like I said, I was distant from God and I wasn't really thinking about anything of that nature. And so I wind up linking up with her and we get involved and we embark on a relationship. And what I'll say is that for the first time since the previous relationship, this was the first girl that I felt like I even wanted to consider taking seriously, right? Even in that, I had to do a lot of work on myself because the me that was outside and promiscuous with so many different women, I had a different demeanor about myself where it's like I didn't really care about too much. I would find myself kind of being short with her and not really giving my all to her and not really being fully, not being all in for real. I wasn't like, cheating on her or nothing, but I just wasn't all in early on. And I knew there was an issue when not only my mother came and said something to me about it, but my right hand man came and said something to me about it. It was like, yo, like, you gotta treat her better. And I was like, what you mean? Like, yo, you gotta treat her better. Like, you be kind of mean, you be kind of short, you be kind of walk the band with her. And I remember being so arrogant in that moment. And I was like, man, look, if she want to leave, she can leave. I ain't holding her hostage. Like I said, it came from that thing that I'd internalized from my mom all those years ago of, like, if my mom washed her hands of me, my mom left me, like, I expect her to leave. Like, I'm not expecting her to stick around. Like, and if she want to go, she can go. Like, I was good before she got here. I'd be good when she leave. Like, that's how I really was early on with her. She actually told me this years later. She was like, yo, I was about to break up with you. Like, I was really about to break up with you. And had it not been for one of her friends telling her to just, hold on, take some time, be patient, she would have broke up with me. But nonetheless, we work it out. We stay together. I get myself together. I remember we had a really good season in this relationship. Once I got past that initial arrogance that I had, we had a really good season in the relationship. Like, it was really good. Like, it was a great relationship. I learned a lot about myself. She helped me to see a lot of things about myself that I maybe had not considered before. And I remember having this thought, like, because I'll be honest, the woman before her kind of diluted the thought of marriage for me. Like, I was like, okay, if this one didn't work out, I'm probably never going to get married. You know what I'm saying? Just that hurt and that pain and all that things that I felt from that relationship. It was like, yo, I'm probably never getting married. But, and then when I was with my first son's mom, I remember having this feeling like, yo, if I had to get married, I would get married to her. Like, she's someone I could see myself getting married to if I were to get married. But I still had no plans on getting married. But what she did do for me was she fulfilled that space of where I was looking for love and looking for community, looking for looking to be desired, looking to be needed in a way. She fulfilled that for me, I will say. And it was good. It was good for a long time. Like, it was good for quite a while. We had a beautiful relationship for a while. And then she got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, I remember growing up very quickly. Like, it's one thing to take care of someone else's child, but when it's your own, I don't know, something in me just was like, it's go time. Like, it just clicked for me. I used to say in that time, I've never had a greater motivation than my son being on the way, my firstborn child, and he's a boy. Like, never had a greater motivation in my life. And I grew up so quick. She even says this to me to this day. She was like, you just grew up so fast. Like, I saw you just change everything like overnight. Like, you went from being one way and then you was all about us. You know what I'm saying? All about me and King. That's my son's name, King. And so it was like, it was like overnight, I just grew up. I started to take life a lot more serious. I started to think about life outside of just myself. I will say, like, King, shout out to King. I love that boy. He grew me up so much, so fast, like so fast. I wound up getting a much better job, making much better money. Started to make, plans for the future. Started to make a lot of changes within myself. Just all the things, started just preparing to be a father, to be a parent, to be a better version of myself for my child. Fast forward a little bit and he's born. And after he's born, I remember just feeling different. What I'll say now is that I was experiencing, I guess you would call it postpartum. I don't know if it's postpartum for men, but whatever that equivalent is for men, that's what I was going through. Because for the first time in my life, I actually realized that it was no longer about me. And everything was different now. I even remember, like, getting high for the first time after my son was born. And I went out and I came back in and everything just felt so surreal. Like, I was having a hard time wrapping my mind around the fact that I had a child now. Like, I just remember it feeling so surreal. Like, it did not feel real in that moment. In the coming, weeks and months, those first, maybe like the first month, his mom was experiencing, I don't think she was in postpartum. I just think she was kind of going through that same adjustment, that same change. It was like having to relearn everything because she's no longer the same person. She's not my girlfriend anymore. She's a mother now, mother of my child, and I'm not just her boyfriend anymore. I'm a father now, father of her child. And it's not about us anymore. It's about this child that we've brought into this world. And nobody gives you a manual on how to do that part. Nobody gives you a game plan, a playbook on parenting for the first time. Like, there is no preparation for it. It's just like you learn on the fly. And being someone who likes to have the answer, who likes to know what to do, when to do it, who likes to have solution. I'm very solution based as a person. It's like I didn't have the answers and I didn't have the solutions and I didn't really know. The only thing I really had to go off of, thank God, was the experience that I had raising the child from my previous relationship or helping to raise the child from my previous relationship, which, like I said, I know now was God's preparation, because in that I had some thing to, I had some like type of tangible knowledge to go to. And God knew that I needed that because of the way he created me. But even in that, even in the having that little piece of tangible knowledge, it brought back that feeling of, am I good enough to be a dad? Do I know enough to be a dad? Can I be a good dad? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be a good dad. I don't know. Like, in my mind, I knew, like, in my heart, I knew, like, I know, like, I'm going to do my best by this child. But it was like that, that programming, that lie that the enemy had always told me, like, you're not good enough. So it's like that was on me in that season. And I remember feeling like depressed in a way, because I was like, yo, it's not wanting to fail your child. That's what it is. Like, I didn't want to fail him. I felt like I failed at so many other things and relationships and just things in life in general. It's like, yo, I don't want to fail my kid. Like, I don't want to fail him. So I remember in that season just feeling that way. And then, like I said, the adjustment we were both making to being parents, first time parents. And it was an adjustment. It was quite the adjustment. But we adjusted, you know what I'm saying? We worked through it. And as time would go on, I would just start to see how different we were becoming. Not just her, me too. We were just different people. We were just different people at that point in time. And in that season, I started to deal with what I know now was spiritual warfare. But I started to deal with a lust issue, because admittedly, I was a bit of a sex addict. I think more so than being a sex addict, I was addicted to pleasing. I had a pleasure kink. Like, I wanted to please whatever woman I was with, because rooted from feelings of not being good enough, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of abandonment, feeling like the only way I could make her stay is if I was superb sexually, That breeded this sex addiction in me, this lustful nature in me. And as our relationship progressed, once she was, fully entrenched in motherhood, there was a sharp decline in intimacy between the two of us. And it led me into this season of what I know now was spiritual warfare with lust and sexual immorality. And I found myself addicted to porn. I found myself trying to find different ways to cope with that, smoking more for sure, drinking more for sure. I had stopped popping pills at this time, thank God. But I was just trying to cope with that warfare that was taking place in me, because I didn't want to violate my relationship. I didn't want to violate this woman that I was in love with, and that I had this child with, and that I was creating this family with. I didn't want to step outside of that. And so for a long time, longer than I even gave credit to before, for a long time, I was in a season of spiritual warfare with lust. And in our relationship, towards the end, I would start to overly divulge myself into my craft, because that was the way that I saw fit to deal with the spiritual warfare I was in. I was like, I got to find something else to transmute all of this energy into. And mind you, at the time, still not having a personal relationship with the Lord, still lost, still trying to figure it out my own way. And by this time, now I'm not only not in relationship with the Lord, but I've started to seek out that fulfillment, that spiritual fulfillment in other belief systems, religions, all types of things. There was a point in my life where I was taking bits and pieces from this religion, this belief system, that belief system, and creating my own little pseudo belief system that was just for me. Taking pretty much all the pieces that I felt resonated with me, and that was going to be what I believed in. I got to a point where I didn't want anything to do with God in the sense that I was raised on him. I always knew that there was a God. I always knew that there was a creator. I always knew that there was a higher power than me, right? I never believed in like Big Bang and stuff like that, but I didn't want anything to do with Jesus. I went from not believing in Jesus to in this season, literally denouncing Jesus Christ. Like, I did not believe in Jesus. I didn't believe he was real. I didn't believe he was the son of God. I just thought he was just another guy that existed and he was around. I didn't believe in all of the things that were taught as I was growing up. I just didn't believe. I was very distant, very far. I hadn't picked up a Bible in years. I definitely wasn't going to anybody's church. I wasn't being discipled by anybody because I wasn't believing. And thank God that my ignorance didn't rub off on the mother of my child, and that I had a praying mother and an interceding mother. And I had friends, community who still believed, even when I didn't. Thank God for that. To pivot back, I was diving deep into the music. And this time I was making like secular music, and I would do these samples of like older songs, and we would call it Dopeness Wednesdays, me and my partner, Mike. And we would make these songs and then make these videos. And we would do this every week. We did this for like 20 some odd weeks straight. And in doing these songs and these videos, we would have female talent come through for the videos, like video girls. And I was in such deep spiritual warfare with lust. The mother of my child, she had a jewelry business at the time where she would make these custom beaded bracelets. And I was in such spiritual warfare that when I would go to these video shoots, in order to keep myself honest and not violating my commitment to her, I would take her jewelry on set and put it on these women. And that would be my reminder to not violate her. It was that deep. And I would literally like every single week, I would like press her out like, hey, yo, I need these bracelets. You got to make sure you got the bracelets ready so I can take them to set. She didn't know, because the way I posed it to her was, yo, I'm trying to help your business. I'm trying to promote your business. But that was literally my way of dealing with the spiritual warfare that was going on with the lust that I was experiencing. I was like, yo, if I got a reminder of her in my face, then it'll keep me from doing things I shouldn't do. And I'll say it actually worked. It did work. But I know it was the grace of God that really worked. It was God that was at work. It's nothing I did. It was bad though. Like in that season, it was bad. It was really bad. The spiritual warfare was very strong. And because I didn't have a personal relationship with God at that time, I didn't have any weapons to combat the spiritual warfare that I was in the middle of. As time would go on, I would find myself deeper and deeper in this spiritual warfare. And I think at some point she began to feel it because she would start to suspect me of cheating on her. And I wasn't at that time. I wasn't. But down the line, one thing would lead to another. And it was actually a woman who I was working with at my day job. And we had known each other for years. And there had never been, any type of energy in that way. But in that season, that started to uncover and come to the surface. And I would wind up entertaining this woman who I was working with, who would later become mother of my second child.